Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll talk to the leaders of a local nonprofit that is bringing art to seniors who can't get to a museum. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, as you know, there are some amazing art museums around the globe, but if you're a senior who's in hospice care or in a nursing home and can't get out to a museum, what happens then? Some people who are changing that, Mark Lombard and Kim Day with For Love and Art. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome, Jeff. We're happy for this opportunity.
Absolutely. So, Mark, let's start with you. How did this all begin?
Well, it began with me being a hospice volunteer. And I realized I was also very passionate about art. So whenever I wasn't hospice volunteering, I'd be visiting the museums in the Metroplex. We have so many here. And I had this one patient who loved art too. We talked about art a lot. Her name was Miss Billy. And a very classy woman. She always dressed up for me when I was coming to visit, which was something very special. And she started losing strength in her legs. And her therapist gave her these exercises to do, and she wasn't that inspired to do them. So, come on, Miss Billy, build up your leg strength. I'll take you to the Kimball, one of the great museums in the Metroplex. And that really inspired her. She did her exercises not once, but twice a day. She really wanted to get to the Kimball. But she had a scoliosis. No matter what she did, she was not going to get better. She was never going to walk again. So in order to hold up my part of the bargain, I'd be bringing souvenir postcards from the Kimball to her every time I visited, from the Kimball, from the Dallas Museum of Art, from the Amon Carter. And I noticed as she would look at these postcards, they weren't just pretty pictures for her. There was like a party going on inside. I remember one postcard in particular from the Amon Carter. It was this family picnicking by water, by a lake, and it was painted at the turn of the century. It was in the Impressionist style. And she looked at me and she looked at it, and she looked at me and she looked at it. And she pointed to the figure closest to the lake and she said, Mark, I wish I was right here, right now. And I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden she's not in Grand Prairie, Texas anymore. And she's not in that small room anymore. And she's not worried about her hygiene. She's not worried about lunch. She's not worried about her sister or any of the other million things that people worry about as they near the end of life. She was quietly idling away the hours with her family by a lake. And I remember having the thought, this is the art experience being made real.
Wow.
So I tucked that away. I said, that's the art experience being made real.
Kim, let's get you in on this conversation. There's a lot of wonderful nonprofits. This one, I think, really touches all of us. I mean, we all have parents and grandparents. Why were you drawn to this nonprofit?
So I have been in the early childhood field my entire career, and I received a notice that says this may be a perfect job for you. And so I looked at it and it said For Love and Art, and I'm like, what does this have to do with early childhood? And I filed it away, and it was nagging at me all day, just go visit their website. And so I went to visit the website, and there is a video of Mark speaking with Miss Billy. And they talked about her being in hospice care and the joy of art that it brought to her in her state right then. And so I was just moved, and I think the reason being is that my mom had just passed away that February, and she was in hospice at home with us, but we couldn't think of a lot of activities to do with her to keep her engaged, to keep her motivated. And when I saw this, it just brought tears to my eyes. It's like, if I could have had this for my mom, I would love for everyone to know that this is available for people who still have that light, but we need to do something to bring it out for them. And so I met Mark and we fell in love. And then that was just it. I said, I have to make this a known organization in North Texas.
Absolutely. We found a wonderful overview video that was produced a few years ago. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
This project's specifically for our senior population. People in hospices who just cannot make it into the museum. So people aren't able to go to the museums. We're now able to bring the museums and bring the art experience to them. That's the intention of For Love and Art. It's to bring the art experience to people in hospice, seniors, people with end-of-life issues, and have them recapture youth, have them recapture beauty, and maybe the magic of life, even if just for a little while.
This whole project was conceptualized and started, from Mark visiting Miss Billy, who's an amazing, wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary woman that I had the opportunity to spend some time with. And so Mark started, since you can't come to the museum, I will bring the museum to you.
When I first showed her the digital photos, her eyes lit up. The first time we went through the book, we found a particular picture. It was a lake and a picnic scene, and it was taken from a distance. It was a French Impressionist, and there were figures on the bank of the lake. And Miss Billy took her finger and pointed to one of those figures and said, "I wish I was right there, right now." So it really got her out of her nursing home. It got her out of her room, got her out of her present circumstances, and took her to a different world. And it's the art experience being made real.
Mark, so breathtaking what you guys are doing. What's your favorite story of a senior when you think about all the seniors you've met over the last dozen or so years?
Yes, there were quite a few. Prior to COVID, I knew 400 seniors by their first names.
Wow.
It's really amazing. So doing this elicits very intimate conversations. So one particular instance that I have is with a woman named Miss Johnny. So we showcase paintings from different museums that we partner with. One of our favorites is the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So we're visiting the Met here in Richardson at a place called Atria, and we're showcasing paintings from the Met. And the next painting is going to go to Miss Johnny, and I prep her. I said, "Miss Johnny, this next painting's for you. Are you ready? Are you ready?" And she said, "Yes, yes, yes." And I show it to her, and it's this beautiful Georgianist painting. It is beautiful. It's springtime in New Jersey, and it's dusk. It's that magic time of day. Beautiful. There's an old yellow house on the left-hand side. You can see the moon, even though it's still daylight, you can see the full moon, which is really, really cool. And there are 3 dogwood trees by this house that are inching their way towards the viewer. One's bright pink, has bright pink blossoms. The other has bright green blossoms. The other one is a big white blossomed dogwood tree, and there are trees in the background. And then there's this really lush meadow, green grass, and this woman, very tiny figure of a woman who's walking diagonally towards the viewer through the meadow. And she looks at this and she studies this. And my experience is, what a beautiful painting. This is springtime in New Jersey. Look, you can see the moon. I'm thinking, oh, how peaceful, how wonderful. I'd love to put this in my bedroom. All these thoughts were going through my mind. Miss Johnny, however, blurts out, that woman is worried about her children. Wow. And as an engagement, as we call ourselves art angels, we're engagement specialists. We don't want to correct that. That is her experience. We recognize that for being her experience. Oh, that woman is worried about her children. She said, yes, that woman is worried about her children. And I said, well, that woman must love her children. And she said, yes, that woman loves her children very, very much. And I know she's talking about herself. Right. And everyone in that room is on the edge of their chair because that is a shared human concern. Concern about your kids, worry about your kids, where are my kids, what's going on. And I told her, Miss Johnny, I want you to know that her kids are just fine and that her kids love their mother too. And she heard that and she just burst out laughing. She was like relieved from the worry. She was released from that. Always in the back of her mind was this concern about her kids, and no one ever talked to her about it. So a great thing about art, it triggers conversations that are important to people, and they're able to speak about it, get it off their chest in a way, and kind of have it, we alter it from being a bad thing to be worried about their kids to really a good thing. It's a sign of how much you love your children.
Wow, I got goosebumps. Kim, what are the greatest needs right now that you guys have as a nonprofit?
Well, Mark had mentioned Art Angels. We need people who are engaging, people who care about the seniors, and who want to bring joy and beauty into some areas that there may not be joy and beauty. And so we need volunteers, Art Angels, we call them Art Docent, Angel
Community
docents. And I think if we can get that done and have people feel that spirit and that joy, it would be just amazing, for this organization.
So Kim mentioned the need for volunteers, donations, relationships with other museums. Mark?
Yes, donations are important. We wanted to, so senior care is very interesting. It's an interesting business. We have communities that are wealthy and they can afford quality of life programs, and money is not really an issue for them. And then we have the elderly poor who have communities with very strained budgets. They have 200 people in their communities. They have 2 people taking care of their quality of life needs. And everybody's like tugging and they want something and nobody's there to listen to them. So our donations actually fund our program in poorer communities for the elderly poor. So we're all about quality of life, Jeff, if you haven't noticed.
Sure.
The bigger your quality of life, the more enjoyment you have in life, the greater you love life.
Outstanding. Well, we've only got a couple minutes left, so Kim, why don't you give us a few words, and then we'll end with you, Mark.
Well, thank you. I would love for everyone to visit our website at forloveandart.org. And if you have time to spend with seniors in the North Texas community, please volunteer with us.
Mark?
Yeah, it's important to know that you don't need an advanced degree in art to be an effective art angel. You just have to love people.
That's a great way to end this segment. We'll end with the website one more time, forloveandart.org. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
us.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.